Francesco Galli Zugaro. Now, you should be in Milano or Torino or Roma, but there you are in Singapore, and you're CEO of Aqua Expeditions, which you founded in 2007. And what a vision that must have been in founding. I mean, I do admire people like yourselves. You had a vision and you went ahead and you founded this amazing company, Aqua Expeditions. So tell me, what is Aqua Expeditions all about?
Thanks for having me. And yes, I'm happy in Singapore, but obviously one foot is always in Italy. And actually, I just got back last night. So I was in Rome for the weekend. And whilst happy to be back, always dreaming of other places.
There are many Australians who will be very jealous of you now, because as you know, we can't fly out of Australia at the moment. So Rome was good, was it? Was it nice? Let's not talk too much about Rome. Let's get back to Aqua. Go on.
Yeah, no, listen, we can have a separate segment on Rome and Italy. But yes, Aqua has been my baby since conception in 2006, when we launched in 2007 with our first ship in that Peruvian Amazon. I guess after having cut my teeth into expedition cruising in the Galapagos Islands, and where I kind of fell in love with the industry, I saw an opportunity to piggyback off what Galapagos, Machu Picchu were attracting enormous affluent explorers to the region, and kind of offer a product in the Peruvian Amazon that hadn't been done before, as far as positioning at the high-end level and experiential, deep experience in the Amazon. And a lot of people think of the Amazon, they think of Brazil. And so a lot of our work over the last 10 years has been to educate both the trade and consumers alike into understanding that the Amazon covers numerous countries in South America, but it's actually born in Peru. And whilst it's an hour flight from Lima, and in Iquitos particularly, which is the biggest city in the world disconnected by roads and the furthest inland seaport of the world, that's where our base point is, and that's where our departure point is for our Amazon cruises. So it's been an incredible journey of 13 years, and now by no means a one-man show. I've got an incredible, talented pool of individuals that work with me and support me and make my dreams today a reality in 4 countries and 4 ships.
Yeah. So you said that you cut your teeth in the Galapagos. So how was that? I mean, is that still impressive? And was it a great experience? Is that where the vision sort of, you clicked and said, I need to do this somewhere else?
Yes, definitely. I mean, I spent 10 years living in Ecuador. My 3 kids were born in Quito, and I then ventured into this business, which wasn't mine, but at least it allowed me to open up the opportunities to learn about the operational, the sales and marketing. But what better place to fall in love with the tourism industry than an iconic destination like the Galapagos, where you've got a living laboratory of evolution right there at your fingertips, and it kind of just set the scene for what I didn't know was going to be my future. And I think it checked every box. Yes, it's got to be on everybody's bucket list. So should the Amazon and the Mekong and our destinations, but I think the Galapagos is such an incredible living classroom that today still needs to be on everybody's priority list. And so it's still been very well controlled, very well managed, very well protected. There's constant threats in all the places we operate in as far as biodiversity protection and nature preservation. But I think that's a challenge we'll face everywhere. But yes, Galapagos is still an incredible holiday, destination.
Yeah. And look, we'll talk about the environmental stuff in a while, because tourism, in a way, can be its own worst enemy by allowing too many people into some of these pristine destinations around the world. But the Amazon River, I mean, it's very redolent to colonial, isn't it? And sort of boats and steaming warm days and drinking gins and stuff like that on the Amazon. Is that what your boats in the Amazon River in Peru, is that what they're like?
I mean, obviously, we try to connote a little sense of heritage and history to it. Yes, to a certain degree, because the Amazon is still relatively unknown as far as a mass tourism destination, and never will be, because just access logistically is hard to come by. The only way to get to Iquitos is by plane. Whilst we built the ship in Iquitos, all the logistics of steel, lampshades, everything had to be brought in by road to Pucallpa, which is a day and a half trip, and then a 5 to 7 day barge downriver to get to Iquitos.
Wow.
So it's an incredibly logistically complex part of the world to operate in. And so it will never become a mass tourism destination. You know, we operate, if we're lucky, 7,000 guests a year, and we're about, 30 to 40% of the visitors into the Pacaya Samiria Reserve. So already gives you an idea that it is controlled, it is for an exclusive number of guests, and what we call our affluent explorers, are guests that want to come to the Amazon, because when people think of the Amazon, they think of heat and bugs. Okay. And that's the truth. And so how do you attract an affluent clientele that's traveled the world, that doesn't want to sacrifice their creature comforts to a destination that's perceived to be uncomfortable? And again, on a river cruiser, you can do that so much more. You can control the environment. These are 15 to 20 cabin cruisers. We have two ships on the Amazon. We have the Aria Amazon, 15 cabins, and we're 16 cabins, sorry. And we have the Aquanera, newly launched Aquanera, that just arrived in Brazil from Vietnam, and I'll tell you that story separately. But she is due to arrive at the end of the month into Iquitos, and she will operate then 20 cabins. So a very limited number of guests actually are able to enter this part of the world, and they do it through our eyes with an all-suite vessel, world-class dining, but having that adventure from what I call 9 to 5 adventure. People that want to go out and venture out into blackwater tributaries looking for pink dolphins, howler monkeys, sloths, piranha fishing, but then coming back to a fully beautiful air-conditioned vessel with world-class Peruvian food. And striking that balance of that sense of adventure without sacrificing creature comforts is what we call today soft adventure.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's comfortable adventure, isn't it, at the end of the day as well? So that's it. We've heard a lot about the Amazon. Just quickly before we go off the Amazon. So you built a boat in Vietnam. How did you ship it to the Amazon? And then it's actually going up to your port in the Amazon at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, so we built the first Amazon cruiser in Peru, and it was amazing, loved it. But then as I moved to Asia 8 years ago to grow our business in Asia with the launch of the Aqua Mekong in the Mekong between Vietnam and Cambodia, we had a very good relationship with yards in Vietnam. We liked the quality of the contractors. And I always wanted to, and these are such high touch products. In other words, we designed the products in-house, we designed the ships with an interior design team, and the execution is just as important as the building and the delivery. So we hired a shipyard in Vietnam to build our new Aquanera. We hired her last year, and during the entire pandemic and the lockdowns, Vietnam actually didn't go into lockdown besides 2 weeks during this whole entire phase. And we were actually able to bring the contractors into the yard to continue working throughout that 2-week lockdown. So we actually took delivery of the ship about 2 weeks late. And this is probably one time in my life that I wish it had been 6 months late, but anyways, but the ship was picked up in Ho Chi Minh by a massive cargo ship, heavy lifted. She's a 700-ton ship. So she was heavy lifted onto a heavy transport ship, and she navigated 32 days from Ho Chi Minh through below Durban into Belém, Brazil, and she arrived 3 days ago, 11,000 nautical miles on a single line voyage all the way to Belém. She arrived in Belém 3 days ago. We sent out 14 crew from Iquitos to pick her up, take delivery. Today, they're unloading her into the water with the 4 tenders, and then she will take the 2,000 nautical mile river, basically crossing all of South America from Belém to Iquitos, due to arrive end of first week of November into Iquitos. So I'd say it's a modern day Fitzcarraldo.
It's what an incredible process. And I mean, I've got this funny feeling that a guy I know called Francesco, who's in Singapore at the moment, would love to be there in Belém as it all happens, wouldn't you?
Yeah. So obviously I've got an incredible team, and yes, I would have been there. I was actually had to be in Europe, and that's why I couldn't, but I have an incredible team that I've handed over. I'm monitoring remotely. I've got drones, I've got live streams, so I'm monitoring it. And the same way, this is a team effort, and this whole period has taught us how to empower our talented pool of people and trust them. And like I said, this is by no means a one-man show anymore. So I've got an incredible people
Okay,
mention.
so we've talked a bit about the Amazon. We've talked a little bit about the Mekong. We'll talk about that in a little bit more in a second. And we've talked about Indonesia, just mentioned these other places. So how many vessels do you have? And tell me a bit about the difference between the operations in the Amazon, the Mekong, and Indonesia. I mean, they're all philosophically probably the same on quality and standards, but there must be variations in them. So how many vessels have you got? And I do know you've got an ocean vessel. We'll talk about that separately.
Yes, so correct. So I'm by no means never bite off more than I can chew. So we've got 4 ships today, 4 expedition ships. They're only in the 15 to 20 cabin range, so we'll never go above that range. That's a sweet spot that I've always found to be a nice balance between almost a private family kind of buyout with a nice group of FIT clients, individual cabin charters. And so that balance has always allowed me to deliver the four principles of our business. World-class experience in remote destinations, a cultural component, a fine dining component, an interior design component, and world-class guides. And those actually 5 pillars are kind of my ethos that I make sure that are always deliverables in all our destinations. So yes, we started off with the Amazon, then we ventured into the Mekong between Vietnam and Cambodia. Beautiful. And Aqua in the first 10 years kind of was synonymous with small ship river expeditions. But our guests and the readers and the consumers at large and our trade partners always understand that our guests, doesn't matter if they're river cruisers or small ship expedition coastal cruising clients, as long as I deliver consistently on our offering and our promise, I can venture into coastal. And the Galapagos, when I cut my teeth into it, was obviously coastal. So then 3 years ago, every project of ours is a labor of love, about 3 years. We take 6 months to design the ships, a year to build them, and then 6 months to pre-market them. And actually from concept to delivery and embarking the first guest, it's a 3-year. So I can't bite off more than I can chew. And last November, we launched our Aqua Blue, which is our Indonesian cruiser. And the Aqua Mekong is obviously operating, well, soon to operate as soon as borders open in Vietnam, between Vietnam and Cambodia. Wow. So we've got a manageable business with an incredible pool of 210 staff globally, a lot of them crew on the ships, operating in 4 countries: Peru, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, with our headquarters in Singapore.
So in terms of ocean cruising as well, what do you do in that space?
So 3 years ago, once we had solidly built the Aqua Mekong and been delivering that for 4 years now, service to Vietnam and Cambodia, operating on the Mekong between the 2 countries, tying Ho Chi Minh with Phnom Penh and Siem Reap. Then we said, okay, we've got an incredible pool of past guests that are loyal to Aqua, and they keep pushing the envelope of wanting us to launch new destinations. So the pressure is on us to deliver. And I guess that's a good thing, because if we were doing something wrong, they wouldn't be pressuring us to deliver more product. And I'd always wanted to go back to my initial days of coastal cruising. So I spend usually, under normal pretext, I would spend about 6 months of the year scouting new destinations around the world. I spent 3 weeks in Zimbabwe 2 years ago exploring Lake Kariba. I explored sub-Saharan Africa. I explored Southeast Asia. And I went to Indonesia. I was actually engaged in Indonesia 20 years ago. And I fell in love with it again and again and again after multiple scouting trips to Raja Ampat, to Spice Islands, to Komodo. And people know Indonesia, a nation of 17,000 or 18,000 islands, depending if it's high tide or low tide, by Bali. And few people venture beyond Bali, especially obviously our dear fellow Australians. It's your back door to Indonesia is Bali. And so there's an incredible nation, island nation to be explored from Raja Ampat to the Spice Islands to Komodo. I sought a vessel. I found her. Usually we build ships, but I found a vessel that kind of checked all my boxes in a general yacht show. I bought it from an Italian family who had owned it as a private yacht. We navigated her from Genoa to Singapore. Spent 7,000 nautical miles bringing her to Singapore. Refitted her in Singapore for 4 months here and turned her into a 15-cabin global explorer yacht that launched in November last year in Bali, heading all the way to Spice Islands and Raja Ampat for inaugural season. Incredible. And she was incredibly well received.
And she was formerly a military ship, is that right? HMS Beagle?
She was. Yeah, she was originally the HMS Beagle for the British Royal Navy as a geographical research ship,
Oh, wow.
and then turned into a private yacht. Has an incredible range, has all state-of-the-art technology, stabilizers, all electronic charts. Anyways, huge. She's got 3 months of fuel autonomy, 7,000 nautical mile fuel range. She did Genoa to Singapore on one fuel tank.
Oh my goodness. Well,
Incredible.
tell me something. There are a lot of people going into this sort of luxury space at the moment, or there seems to be few people, not a lot, okay? It's a very expensive space to get into because you've got to deliver what you promise. And I've done a lot of reading about you and looked at the reviews of Aqua by your clients. You have very high repeat visitation. I know that. You can tell me how high in a second. But what makes you different to these other operators over and above what you've told me so far? Because there's definitely a passion there. You're heavily involved in the business. You're clearly steering it. You've motivated a great team. But if somebody's looking at a brochure or looking at a website and saying, oh, which should I choose? Why would they choose you and what makes you different?
I think it's about the talented pool of professionals that we have working and the passion behind it. Whilst I think our assets, yes, these are asset heavy industries because we build, own, and operate our ships. That's not necessarily the key differentiator. I think the differentiator is the attention to detail, the passion that goes into every ship, every service, every excursion. We don't come into a destination, and by no means do we claim to be the first in any destination. We definitely differentiate ourselves, but the attention to scouting excursions, to selecting the chefs that we work with to deliver the dining experience, to selecting the guides. These are trips that are made or broken by the guides. The quality of guides, just like an African safari, it's the guides that make or break a trip. So the quality of passion behind the guides, and many of them local guides, self-taught, passionate individuals that are ambassadors and that are storytellers to our guests, that's what makes the difference. So yes, we do have a high repeat level of past guests coming back, both to different destinations, in some cases repeat the same destination, particularly the Aqua Blue, because we have multiple different itineraries. It's really dictated by the experience they had on board with us.
Yeah.
From the booking process, obviously, to the individuals involved in that, but more about the delivery on board. And I think that's key.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, I've obviously, working in this sort of profession, I suppose, in the last years of my career, been on many, many, many cruise ships and also many shore experiences or shore excursions. And not suggesting that you have any average tours, but I've been on some average tours with an amazing guide, and people have come back and said, that is the best tour I've ever done. I've actually been on a coach where there's been a standing ovation for the guide, and it's all about personality. It's all about exuding that. And I've got this feeling that happens throughout your company. So tell me something. Go on.
It does. No, I was going to just add that because, and even more today than ever, it's going to be more relevant as we come out of this crazy times that we are living in. The fact that we deliver everything in groups of no larger than 4 couples per guide on any of our ships is a big differentiating factor. People are looking for private, personalized, remote destinations to operate in, to explore, but also on the excursions, both on the water or on shore. We do nothing in larger groups than 1 guide for 4 couples. So that's already built into our DNA. And going forward, that continues to be one of our big differentiating factors. So yes, the guides are storytellers. And if you're going down a tributary in the Amazon and you don't know what nature's going to throw at you, you're going to see pink dolphins, jaguar, macaws, howler monkeys. But our guides can narrate that story well. Yes, you'll come back with a standing ovation as well. So that's what we plan to deliver every time.
I'll tell you a funny story on a tour I was on in the Azores, okay? And the Azores is beautiful, but it's not crazy, it was a very good tour. It's a small group tour, and we had this amazing guide, and he knew everything about everybody. He connected with the group. He knew how to deal with a crotchety guy in the second row of this small minibus thing. He knew how to deal with a young couple. He was so good. And I mean, he had a massive tips at the end. At the end of the day, they live on this stuff. I mean, tourism isn't there all year round, but he just amazing intimacy with the people. So afterwards, I said to him, look, I've got to say to you, you are one of the best guys I've ever experienced in my life. But how do you know so much about all these people in all these villages everywhere and down in the main city and all this? So I said, how long have you been doing this? He said, oh, I've only been doing it a couple of years. It's very kind of you to say that. I said, what did you do before? Oh, I was a local Roman Catholic priest. So that's how he knew everything about everybody. But tell me, you started to segue just before into COVID. COVID,
Mhm.
it's a pain for all of us at the moment. Are your ships operating now? And how is COVID affecting you? How are you dealing with it? And what are your plans for dealing with COVID going forward?
Okay, well, today is, the day we record this, we have news, and then obviously things, what we have gotten used to is the fact that things change on a daily, hourly basis. However, the current standing as of our ship today is the Aqua Mekong is in safe berthing in our yard in Ho Chi Minh, awaiting for news for borders to open between the region or elsewhere, between Vietnam and Cambodia, so we can welcome guests back on board,
Yeah,
and that we don't have clarity on. We're hoping that we'll get news before the end of the year. The
yeah,
Aqua Blue, which is based now in Indonesia, is able to operate with Indonesian residents, of which we have a good number of demand because there's a good number of middle class, upper class, and affluent explorers that are willing to explore Indonesia as their home country. And so she is now currently in Indonesia and able to operate and waiting news for us to be able to reopen to our foreign guests. They said end of the year. We don't have clarity exactly on the date, but hopefully Bali is so dependent obviously on tourism. So I know the pressure is there for them to open under the right measures
yeah.
and providing the trust and reassurance to the foreign guests. So we're hoping that that comes in line, hopefully end of the year, Christmas, January. And by that time, the Aqua Blue will be relocated to Raja Ampat to take in the season of December, January, February, which is the
Okay.
best time to visit Raja Ampat.
Yeah.
The
Now,
Aquanera, as I
okay.
said, is in Berlin. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay. So, in terms of if I was a regular guest with you and had been on several of your cruises, I knew what to expect in terms of food and the welcome. What would I expect to be different today in terms of boarding your vessels in a COVID or a post COVID environment?
Yeah, so let me just finish with that because
Oh, yeah.
I took too long in explaining the Aria Amazon is able to operate as of November.
Yep.
Or 12, 15 countries have been opened up. North America, most of South America have opened up flights into Peru. So it'll be a gradual ramp up and she'll be able to operate. So as far as the protocols in place and as far as the guest experience is expected, I think it's about striking that balance between being conscientious, aware, and transparent in the measures we're taking, both from the sanitation on board to the crew health, and ensuring that there's an environment that provides them trust and reassurance about traveling on board our small ships. By nature, our small ships are low density, remote. We don't do many highly kind of visits to highly dense populations because we're in remote areas of the world anyways. So I think a lot of our communication strategy of the last 6 months has been bringing to light what we already do. The protocols we use for sanitation and cleaning on board, using Ecolab, using all the fumigation, everything is done. Then the crew testing for the monitoring of our crew. So I think it's striking that balance, but it's communicating that both from a trust and reassurance of our consumers and our guests to the operation on board. The excursions, everything's already done in groups of 8 anyways. We don't have to build in social distancing or physical distancing on our ships because our ships are by nature low density, anywhere between 30 and 40 guests on a 65-meter expedition vessel. So, and we're in remote areas. Everything's about staying on the excursions, on the speedboats. 90% of excursions on the Amazon are water-based.
Yeah.
So you're on your tender in a group of 8, exploring tributary, looking for wildlife, and then coming back to the same ship for all your meals. So there isn't a high degree of using additional service. Everything's confined, controlled, and that's over the last few months, we've seen such an increase in demand for private buyouts, multiple families wanting to travel together and doing these kind of celebratory trips and buying out our ships because they're very manageable in size and it's a long stay. So you're seeing, instead of doing a 3 nights, people doing 4 and 7 nights because they'll just stay there in a controlled environment, travel to a destination, do the entire trip and get off. So we've been communicating that more than ever and providing that trust and reassurance. And people know that they're dealing with that at the end of the day with the owner operator that gives them comfort that there's not many people in between on the delivery.
Well, look, we're drawing to the close now, but I think the most important thing is, I know we have borders closed at the moment, but they will open soon. What are your messages for the trade and consumers in Australia that want to book an Aqua Expeditions? I mean, what are your messages now? And also, how can they find out more information?
Well, obviously, I moved to this part of the world 8 years ago because I believe that the future of a lot of our source markets, being Australia and some other regions in Southeast Asia, to be a driving force of in our growth, both from delivering product to the region. So now that we have a ship in Vietnam and Cambodia, obviously it's been a natural, perfect destination for Australians to travel to Southeast Asia and come visit us in the Mekong and the Amazon. Obviously, having a ship, there's very few, a lot of Australian guests of ours have even second homes in Bali and Indonesia, but to be able, or have even gone to Bali numerous times. So I think the opportunity that the Aqua Blue provides Australian guests to get to Bali and cruise right out of Bali on a Saturday night and wake up and go snorkel with whale sharks in Sumbawa is something that's rarely offered. And there's great Finisi local schooners in Indonesia, but nothing that has a global explorer yacht that you can buy by the cabin. So I think automatically Aqua Expeditions become more relevant to Australians more than ever in the last few years because we have two ships in your backyard.
Yeah.
That obviously with our head office and our reservations in Singapore, it obviously provides even almost the same time zone booking capability through our Singapore office. So accessing our website, but we work with multiple partners in Australia, all Latin America and Southeast Asia specialists that are trained and well prepared to take on any requests. So, but I think, we've established a brand, we're here for the long run. And I think you just have to be resilient and know that that the trade will have a good partner on the ground, delivering a safe, amazing experience to all the guests when that happens.
And a high quality product. And your URL for people who want to find out more information is?
aquaexpeditions.com.
Couldn't be easier. Francesco, thank you for your time today. What a stunning product. It'd be wonderful to try it one day. And I know a lot of the people watching this, when it goes online, will be very, very keen to book their clients on it. There are plenty of aspirational travelers in Australia who do have spare money, even after something like COVID, or are sufficiently wealthy to be able to afford a high quality product. But Australians, without any question, don't want run-of-the-mill moving forward, particularly retirees, empty nesters. They want to have fabulous experiences. I call them wow experiences. And it sounds to me like Aqua Expeditions provides a wow experience. So thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me on Global Travel Media. And I wish you every success as we come out of this rather difficult COVID environment. Thank you, Francesco.
Thank you and have a great day. Thanks for the opportunity. Bye. Ciao.
Thank you.